For us, failure is not only an option, it's like absolutely mandatory, right? It's the way that we learn and evolve. One of the things I'm excited about with early access is it kind of makes everything feel a little more Kerbal in the sense that we're gonna get some things wrong. We're gonna make some assumptions that are incorrect. We're gonna fail out loud. Like, there's nothing more Kerbal than that, actually. I mean, this has been my entire life for years now. We originally announced that we were going to release this game in 2020, and here we are coming up on 2023, and it's still not out. I feel like I've been sitting on a secret in a way. I cannot wait to experience this with other people, and I'm looking forward to letting the game speak for itself. If you have any tendency toward perfectionism, this job is not for you. There is no one person who can encompass in their mind everything that this game is and everything that this game does. At the very beginning of this, I had it all written out. I knew exactly what this game was going to be, and it's blossomed. It's become something bigger than any one person on the team.
Going into early access, we have the opportunity to make this game amazing with our community, not just for our community. Each update is kind of like a little present. As a community, we get to unwrap this present together with all the new features and all the new things to explore.
Kerbal Space Program 1 was an early access game even before early access was a thing. But there was a moment when we were about to release on Steam, and we had to just hit the brakes full stop, because we were wondering if people were going to be annoyed that we were giving them an incomplete game. I mean, there was no shame in it. We knew it was incomplete, we knew it was in development, and that's how early access as we know it came to be. Kerbal Space Program 1 would definitely be a very different game if it had not been an early access game. Feedback from the community was invaluable, and it helped shape the game as it is today.
We're thinking of early access in a kind of total way. First, completing the foundation, validating the foundation through community interaction, and then building successive new floors on top of that foundation. New celestial bodies, new star systems, colonies, interstellar travel, multiplayer, all of that stuff needs to be layered in on top of those core features that we want to get in front of people as soon as we can. I cannot overstate how important it is for me to just hear what people think about this thing we're creating. We've been working in a vacuum, it's a space joke, for quite a while. This is a rare opportunity to actually find out how we've been doing.
Early access means that you have the ability to have a dialogue with the development team and to shape the future of the game.
Much of what's in place on day one for KSP2 is that huge, massive technology beneath the surface that's there to support these new features that are coming down the road, like multiplayer, like interstellar, like colonies. Here are the aspects of the new game that I think are going to be most obviously improved. You're going to be able to make vehicles that are very different from the vehicles you could make in KSP1 and a lot more tunable in terms of their shape and performance. The way that we're showing spheres of influence, the way that we're showing encounters. Right out of the gate, the map view is a completely different animal from what it was in the original Kerbal Space Program. The iconography of the map view is so much easier to parse, and it actually gives you more information than the old map view. I've been surprised by how much prettier everything looks. Specifically, the parts really result in some pretty impressive creations. One way that I can tell the game's ready for early access is that we can't stop playing it. Like, we spend all day working on this thing, so you'd think we'd be tired of it, but instead we've had to set up a new internal Slack channel to keep track of all the creations everybody's making in their free time. We have 4 launch pads at KSC so that when multiplayer comes online, people will be able to launch simultaneously from the same base. We've got 2 runways, and both runways are very long, with nothing at the end of the runway to run into. There's a launch tower next to the rocket, and the launch tower's position adjusts based on the rocket's dimensions. The new flight HUD is extremely cool. It still has, for example, a go button. You don't have to know the hotkey to launch a vehicle. For the navball cluster, we looked at a bunch of compact flight displays for commercial aircraft. They have what's called tapes. It's a little scale that just scrolls by, giving you a visceral sense of how quickly that number is changing. So if you're falling really quickly, you see the tape going just whizzing by. It really changes the way everything feels. One of my favorite new things is coloring parts. You can either color an entire vehicle, you can color individual parts, different colors. It's crazy how much fun we've been having with this feature. I feel like there's a zillion things like that. We have had a couple of opportunities to put the current part set in the hands of creators who were prominent in the KSP1 community, not least of which is Chris Adderley, who is a part modder from the KSP1 community, who's now on our team. Those people can take what we've created and make things that are shockingly cool.
It's been weird to be known. During the interview process, I mentioned that I had modded KSP, and they asked me what my username was. And then when I mentioned it, they said, "Oh." And there was silence. At Intercept, we spent a lot of time looking at the KSP1 modding scene and trying to identify where we can make things easier and where we can make things more efficient than KSP1 modding. And that could be in the area of mod packaging, mod versioning, and other similar things like that. So we want to work with the community to build good standards that the entire KSP2 modding scene can stand upon. Modder's gonna mod.
And you've never met him in person, correct?
Today is he lives in Vancouver, Canada, and today's gonna be the first time I get to talk to him in person, yeah. I feel like we're already friends, actually, but I don't know how tall he is.
All right, let's go.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Finally see you in person.
Let's all look awkwardly at the camera.
If you want to go to space, you've got to start somewhere. So you gotta design a space-worthy vessel, and for that you need the VAB. This is one of the features that we're actually iterating a lot on. It's gonna be available on early access. One of the cool things that I can show you that's not on KSP1 is we've got some procedural parts now. So all of these winglets, you had like a ton of winglets in KSP1. Now you just got a few of them, but you can fine-tune them and make them look and behave exactly the way you want them to. The main difference that you're going to find when playing the early access version of KSP2 with respect to the first early access versions of KSP1 is you're gonna see a more complete game. You're gonna have the whole Kerbal lore system to work with. And even if you're a seasoned KSP1 player and you've gone everywhere, I would really invite you to go everywhere again, because we have a new PQS system. PQS stands for Procedural Quad Sphere. It's the system that we use to create the planets. Planets are now a lot more interesting. They look amazing. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but they have a few surprises here and there that you might want to check out.
There's a feature I'm super excited about, which is acceleration under time zoom. If you have ever tried to make a trip to Joule or Lathe, or maybe you've used the Xenon engine, you will find that you will initiate that burn and you will go and mow the lawn and maybe do about a few other things, and then maybe you're there. For KSP, you cannot advance time warp while you're accelerating. For KSP2, particularly because of Interstellar waiting in the wings, this is one of those features that gets to pay dividends now in early access. So players who are looking to try those kind of like slow, efficient flights, you won't have to mow the lawn like I did. You'll just be able to advance time warp and get to where you need in a perfectly reasonable amount of time.
I think I'm excited about how we are going to simplify some of player interactions with the game itself, like using new tools or using tools that we already have, but now they are more easy. It's less intimidating, so to speak. So we already have these hardcore players that they don't mind going and putting an Excel sheet to get the numbers right. But we also want to get to those new players that are doing this for the first time and it's like, okay, we got you here. Like, this looks scary, but it's going to be less scary if you use this.
The feedback we don't get that often is when people like things. So if you like something, please let us know.
Please.
It feels very nice.
Yes. We don't get to see the comments like, yeah, this is amazing. Like that palm in your shoulder, it's really nice to get.
I understand that many fans are going to be anxious to have the full game available on release, but KSP2 is a really complex game. Colonies, multiple solar systems, further exploration, life support. It's important that we do this step by step, and we know that the community is liking what we are doing, that they are having fun, and we are doing it on the proper way.
Moving to early access allows us to focus on really the core of the game. When you have a whole suite of features that you're also building upon, you have the tendency to spread yourself rather thin. And when you spread yourself thin, you have the tendency to not bring everything up to a strong quality bar. So early access allows us to really focus on the most important part of the game, the part that cannot fail, the part that enables everything else, and bring it up to a high level of quality. Colonies in Interstellar are two features that exist beyond the MUN. So we have to make sure that this core experience is strong in order to interact with these other systems.
If a system doesn't work well and we're building on it later in development, we want to know earlier rather than later so that we can deliver the best possible Kerbal experience.
One of the groups I'm most excited to get feedback from is people who thought Kerbal was a game for them, tried it, and for whatever reason, walked away. We've put a lot of thought into KSP2 for how our tutorials, how our onboarding, how our first-time user experience can welcome people in who have an interest in space and simulation games and putting rockets together and exploring the universe. And so we're really interested in seeing whether or not we've accomplished that. Just like players experienced with KSP1, we will be releasing updates along the way, and we will be adding colonies, Interstellar, new places to explore, new parts to use, new game modes to help drive that experience. Those things are already underway. One thing our players have been very clear about is that they want us to take our time and give them a quality experience with KSP2. So we're making sure that what they will be getting in early access is a strong foundation.